Hey everybody, it's Mike at Wildcat Creek. It's March the 11th, it's snowing. It's supposed to be down in the 20s the next few days. Going out to check my greenhouse. I've got about 125 okra plants I got started, and I think they're going to be okay. Got enough dirt in my raised beds in the greenhouse that should retain enough heat to keep them viable. Yeah, here's some of my okra coming up here. And started them in these little Dixie cups. Then I'll transplant them in the garden here in a couple of weeks when they get big enough. Had real good success with the spinach this year. We've been eating spinach all winter. It did real well in here. I had to replant my beets. I had bad seed or something on the first plant and they didn't come up. Of course, I've got garlic and more garlic and some onions in here. Other stuff, still got a lot of work to do. Some of my experiments didn't work out. Sweet potato experiment, forget it. I do have some Irish potatoes coming up. Here's one of my little seed starter cartons. I've got a bunch of them inside. Got tomatoes, peppers, parsley, and some other herbs and stuff coming up right now. This is Brussels sprouts. I got 3 of them came up. They hadn't done anything. These are what's left of the broccoli. We had a lot of broccoli this past winter. I'm letting them go to flower, and I'll harvest seed off of them, and I'll have seed to trade, seed to plant with this coming autumn. And you know, so you just want to let them go to seed, let them develop the seed, and they'll be good. Here's some more okra coming up. Brussels sprout I rescued out of the garden spot there. Cauliflower, looks like that cauliflower plant's about had it. Got carrots, radishes. I've alternated planting them. We've had a lot of carrots. Got some little radishes coming up here to be ready in a few weeks. Just keep on planting stuff. This is my first year using a greenhouse through the winter, and it's worked out real well. I learned a lot, and I'll be able to apply it to next year, and should have this thing filled up. I'm going to plant more broccoli because it did real well, and I'll be planting a lot more spinach in here, and carrots, radishes, and probably some beets and stuff too. So anyway, looks like it's still snowing. I see snow sticking on the plastic here. Got my cat, gotta try to keep him out of the greenhouse. You can see how the humidity on the plastic here. Things holds the moisture. That thing's really airtight. Then I've got some row planting out here. I've got all the dirt prepared and everything. Dog tracks have come out here. Some days there's deer tracks all through it. I got some anti-deer Irish Spring soap I'm going to put up, and plant some lemongrass. Keep them out of my little garden patch here. Anyway, I got 6 rows, 15 feet long, and that's where the majority of that okra is going to go. And it's all dug up and ready. got some mushroom mixed dirt that I mixed in the earth here. Should help out. Then I've got 2 rows here. I don't know, they're about 20 feet long. I guess I'm going to plant black-eyed peas there. And this is my watering system. I've been using my solar cell and my little aquarium pump, just pumping it out of Wildcat Creek there, straight up the hill into here. That's worked all winter long. And of course I'll be using the Sprung during the summer because the creek usually dries up too much to be able to get a lot of water out of it. Anyway, we'll go over to the shed. I'll show you some basic hand tools you need to do gardening. We'll talk a little bit about gardening today. See you in a minute. Bye. And I forgot to mention I'd cut some 30-gallon barrels, plastic barrels, in half, put rope handles on them, drill drain holes in the bottom, and going to be planting various stuff in there, maybe watermelons, definitely potatoes, stuff like that. Experimenting with that. My dirt ground here is so rocky and filled up as a dump area, like that big hunk of aluminum here. Ground's full of that. Aluminum will keep your plants from taking up potassium. Blocks them from doing that. So also a lot of that stuff we're getting sprayed with, it's got aluminum in it too. That's why I think a lot of people's gardens aren't doing too well right now. But that's a 25-foot long greenhouse, 12 feet wide, just basically built out of stuff I had laying around. I did buy the plastic and bought the dirt for the raised beds in there. Now we'll go over to the tool shed and I'll show you some basic gardening tools. See you then. Bye. Guys, this is out at my tool shed, storage shed here. Tools I use most frequently in gardening in this particular soil are, I use this Matic pick, but most of you won't have as rocky a soil as I do. And that's my what I go through first time digging rows up. You don't have to have all the ground cleared. You can just clear for your rows. I come in and mow next to my rows, and that works out good. I keep it, kind of weeded down. You can cut it down with the shovel and all. You don't have to clear out, just have bare ground. That's part of machine agriculture. I don't have a tiller. I don't have a tractor. I don't have a mule. I am the mule. I do everything with just hand tools. You want a round point shovel. If you expand later on, you may want to get a square point too. They come in handy in certain applications. You'll need a hard tooth rake. And for me, it's so rocky here that digging out rows, I use post hole digger. Works good in this soil. If you're in Florida, Midwest, or somewhere where you actually have dirt, doesn't have a 15-foot layer of rocks in it, you wouldn't need that. Then throughout the year, you'll need a hoe. Most people don't know it, but you actually need to keep your hose sharp. This one's dulled out right now. You need to grind an edge, file an edge on there. Use them for weeding, cultivating the soil, loosening it up, killing snakes when they show up in your garden. Hoe comes in real handy. And you'll need a hard rake well, a leaf rake at times. Doesn't have to be, none of these tools are real expensive. I think I paid about 35 bucks for the post hole diggers. Rest of these I got on sale. I used to use this in Georgia. I didn't need a post hole digger or anything like that. The soil's mostly clay there. And this was my main garden tool there, but I hardly use it here because of all the rocks. And, you know, you can do a lot of gardening with that. Of course, I have a wheelbarrow too. I like the metal ones. I use mine mixing concrete and other stuff in it. Want to make sure and keep your tires pumped up. That one needs some air. Of course, I'm just getting started on my garden this year. I think I started seeds back around the middle of February, and I plant by the signs. So, you know, I've learned that there's something to that. I don't know what it is. Get you an almanac and check it out. But that's about all I use on my garden. And I've got more garden spot up there on that hillside and more around front. You can't see it from here where I plant tomatoes and peppers. So quite a bit of rocky soil here, though. You can kind of see big rock formation here on the edge of the base of the mountain. That's up about, the high point there is about four or five stories up from where I'm standing. And the soil, the dirt here was at one time creek bed, or river bed. All the rocks that come out of the ground here are water worn. Give you an idea. The rocks up on the mountain are coarse, rough rocks. But that's kind of an x-ray what my soil looks like when I dig. All those rocks are just a little bit of dirt mixed in. You can see where the creek beds eroded these out. And makes it really tough. I mean, digging like I've never had to dig before. And these things, some of them are just an inch below the surface. And it's non-stop getting the rocks cleared out. To get those rows cleared out over there by the greenhouse was a monumental struggle. It's, you know, you couldn't use a tiller in here if you wanted to. Little fig bush ready to come up. But anyhow, you know, get you a set of gardening tools and get out and dig you up a plot. If you're in an apartment, you can plant in pots. You know, you probably got a patio or something. You can set something out there, tomato plant or something. Everybody needs to know how to grow some of your own food and lighten up your grocery bills. And I'll show you some of my new plant starts here in a minute. See you then. Bye. Hey guys, we're back here. I want to show you some things with starting seeds. I'll plant maybe 4 seeds. Sometimes I just plant 1 seed. I've had germination problems here lately, and I've been planting 4 seeds in each one of these. You can thin them out, or when they're done getting up to where you're going to transplant them, you can carefully break them apart, cut them apart to plant into Dixie cups or out in the garden or whatever you're going to do. This year I'm using seeds I bought at Walmart, and if you look around, you can find this kind of seed here, American seed. They're 20 cents a pack, okay? And they have tomatoes, squash, cucumbers, watermelon, all kinds of seeds, whatever you're looking for, whatever you got room for. Usually one seed pack, like tomatoes, if you've got 50, tomato seeds are pretty small. If you've got 50 tomato seeds, you know, you're not going to get 50 tomato plants. It's more, you know, unless you're going into some kind of commercial enterprise, it's more than you need. You can get by pretty good with just one tomato plant. I like to usually plant, I don't know, anywhere from 7 to 15 of them. Of course, I give away a lot of the stuff I grow. These are tomatoes right here, and the ones I like the most, and I've experimented with a lot of different types through the years, are the Rutger tomatoes, and that is a hybrid that has been bred true, which means you can harvest the seed from these and get Rutgers the following year. They don't do that anymore because the seed companies want to sell you the seed every year. So something you want to try and avoid is getting hybrid seeds for hybrid plants. You want to look for that. You want to get open pollinated. Sometimes they call these heirloom plants. They're the old type of vegetables, and you can save your own seed. You don't have to buy them every year. Just save them every year and plant them the next year. And you know, even though it sounds like, well, 20 cents isn't that much and it's a hassle to save seeds, but I'm talking about in a long-term situation like a SHTF or something like that, you will want to have your own seed. You want to know how to prepare them, and that's how you'll learn how to do it, saving them from year to year, see what works. I also have some pepper plants. These are doing pretty good. I don't see any real leaves on them yet. The first 2 leaves that come out are called cotyl leaves. Those aren't really considered leaves. This was my first tomato to come up. You can see how long and stringy it is, but it has real leaves right up here. Those are real leaves, and when the real leaves appear, your plant is ready to be transplanted at that time. You don't want to mess with them any earlier than that. These 2 here are also getting real leaves, so the next day or so I'll be transplanting these to Dixie cups, and then from the Dixie cups, I'll keep them in my greenhouse, keep them watered, and then when the temperature gets warm enough outside that I can plant them outside, I'll plant them in places I have prepared the ground to plant them at. And that's the way you do that, starting them from seeds. You start them inside, and I plant them, you keep them watered. I use this little spray bottle right here to water with, and you know, you don't want to mash them down. Sometimes the Windex, old Windex bottles, I use them too, but they spray pretty hard, and you don't want to destroy any little plants. So these are ready to be watered for the day, and they'll come up in all different time periods. I've got some just coming out. Some of these have been out, you know, 10, 15 days already, coming up pretty good. Planting some thyme. It's a herb, and some of these are starting to get real leaves too. So these are getting ready to be transplanted. You can see about what kind of germination rate I got with those, and I think I put 4 thyme seeds in every little plot. Now when I'm putting my seeds out, I use a pair of tweezers, pick the seed up and put them in the dirt, and it just helps me to control what kind of mess you gotta separate later when they're ready for transplanting. Now this is a tray of tobacco seeds. If you do any tobacco, thing about germinating tobacco is you sow the seed, which is about the size of dust. Okay, I don't know if you've ever seen tobacco seeds. They are the tiniest seeds I've ever seen. I mean, a flea is about 10 times bigger than a tobacco seed. They're really small. You want to put them on the surface. You don't cover them at all. And they have to be in the sunlight to germinate. You got to leave this on a windowsill or have it out where it can get sun, you know, as long as it's warm enough. Because without the sunlight, they won't germinate, and they have to be on the surface. Just keep that in mind. I've got some Havana tobacco planted here. Going to come up anytime. I don't know. It's real slow to germinate usually, and it's a favorite for me for my own pipe tobacco. So you can make cigarettes, cigars. I mean, you can do everything with Havana, and the seeds are available. Another thing is critter control. Deer will come in. They like peas. They like beans. Never had a problem with them with tomatoes, but they eat a lot of stuff in your garden. And you can take this Irish Spring soap. And this is 2 bars. I got it at Dollar General, I think, for $1. And cut them in half, give you 4 sections, and drill holes through them and put them on string around the outer perimeter of your garden. Something else you can do is plant lemongrass. Lemongrass. It's kind of a herb thing. I think it's from Asia. It has a real strong smell to it, and the deer don't like that. So you can plant plots of lemongrass around your outer perimeter of your garden too. Of course, a fence helps. It's going to be a lot more critters than just deer getting in your garden. You got raccoons, you got possums, squirrels. It's hard to keep them. I mean, squirrels, how are you going to keep them out? They like to climb anyway. They go right up the fence, come down the other side. So, you know, but a fence helps. And if you can put sticks on the corners and go up just with string, that will discourage deer. Of course, put your scented soap on the string too, and you're just going to have to do whatever you can. You're going to have birds coming in and eating your stuff. Got to look for hornworms in your tobacco and tomatoes through the year. I mean, there's a host of stuff. It's a full-time job, but everybody needs to know how to garden. It's you know, a very important skill. It's something that takes time to do. You're not just going to go out with a pack of seeds and presto bango have a nice big garden going on. It's not going to work like that for you. You need some training. You know, you need to be practicing now. Even if all you've got, say, a windowsill or a patio, you can plant a tomato plant in a 2-gallon pot, 3-gallon pot, whatever you can get, and grow tomatoes. Everybody likes tomatoes. These Rutger tomatoes taste wonderful. And something else about the tomatoes, you got 2 different, besides being hybrid and open pollinated heirloom, you also have determinate and indeterminate seeds. All the Rutger tomatoes that I've been able to find in North America are determinate, and determinate means that your tomatoes all come on at the same time. And these are what the commercial growers want, because they want to be able to hire pickers to come in and pick them all at the same time. What you want for a home garden is indeterminate, because they'll go the whole season producing tomatoes. The determinates are pretty well shot out after they put that first group out, and the indeterminates will keep on blooming and throwing tomatoes all the way till first frost kills them. And of course, you can cover them. I've had fresh tomatoes all the way up to Christmas. Just you know, keep them covered. Eventually the cold gets them, but you can keep them going that long if you want to. Anyway, hope y'all enjoyed the video. If you hadn't subscribed, subscribe, and press like if you like my videos, and we'll talk to you later. Bye bye. Hey everybody.
Hey guys. Today is just going to be a simple video, simple talk. I'm sorry if you can hear wind through here. I'm not going to keep this video long, but this is my garden plot. I think it's 26 feet long, and I think it's 17 feet wide, and we're going to have it loaded down with all kinds of vegetables and stuff. And I'm going to make another plot right back here in front of this old porch. It's going to be a watermelon. I'm going to grow some watermelon and some cantaloupes. This right here is going to be a lifesaver if anything happens. You know, I could can it, we can eat it, you know, as soon as we pick it, or we can can it to save it, or we could trade, because a lot of people don't grow a garden. You know, they don't either know how to, or they say they don't have time to. If I were you, and you just lived in a small apartment or just a small house, I would be planting some type of garden. You can get 5-gallon buckets, fill it full of dirt and potting soil, plant you some tomato seeds, keep it on your porch, water it, you know, keep it in the sun. That way you have tomato plants or squash or zucchini, anything like that that you can eat, you can, or you can trade for stuff. You know, in a SHTF situation, 3 or 4 months down the road, you might have 5 or 6 extra tomatoes, and somebody comes up that might have something you really need, and you trade that, and they'd be glad to get the fresh vegetables. So no matter what situation you're in, let it be apartment building, you know, if you got apartment building, put a plant box on the outside of one of your windows and grow, you know, grow some vegetables like that if you can. There's always a way to grow a garden. You know, now these community garden places, that's going to be rough, because those are going to get raided in a SHTF situation. You know, like right here, I'm right next to a road, and people's going to see my garden. But this is why I haven't cut these thickets down and these trees and stuff, because when, you know, it'll get green and it'll kind of block it a little bit. Hopefully, you know, it's not a guarantee, but something's better than nothing. But guys, truly think about, you know, planting you a garden, a small garden. Yeah, this is a small garden for around here. You know, it's going to have tomatoes and corn and green beans and peppers and onions and carrots and beets, cucumbers. I don't know what else. But this is just something to give you guys, you know, thinking about. Plant you a small garden if you can, because again, you can pick them and eat them. You can can them so you can have them for later, or you can do trading with them in a SHTF situation. You know, like us, after we get everything we need and we're going to have extra, we always have extra, I take them to the local flea market and I sell them. And in one day I can unload everything that I take over there. But it's just ideal. I'm sorry this wind's just howling through here. We just had bad thunderstorms yesterday, and you can see the clouds. It's supposed to clear out today, you know, this evening and everything. But guys, I just want to give you a heads up, you know. Another thing, I'll show you a trick too, if you got a, you know, small yard. This was my old watermelon. You know, I just threw an old tire down, filled it with some dirt and some potting soil a couple years ago, and, you know, growing watermelons out of it. You could do that with a tomato plant. You know, just an old tire. You can find old tires everywhere. And if you want to be decorative, you can kind of paint it so it won't just look like an old tire sitting in your yard. You know, kind of paint it white or whatever color and grow, you know, a tomato plant out of that. But guys, whatever you do, get you some type of vegetable garden going. You know, you're going to need it. If you can raise like herb garden as well. Those are small. Again, I'm sorry. I know this wind's going to show up on this video. And no, I don't have a windsock or anything. This is just my cell phone. But just think about it. You know, get you some plants in the ground. Let it be using a tire, a bucket, doing a small garden. I'm trying not to talk because I know this wind is going to drown out my voice. But I'm going to end it. Just seriously, think about planting a small garden, if anything. You know, that way you have some type of vegetables to eat or to do some trading. On the next one, guys, everybody be safe and bye. Hey guys, sorry I haven't made a video. This weekend went crazy, me selling at the flea market. Done good, so I'm glad I done it. But yeah, I've been getting a lot of comments. You know, the population, there's too many people in the world and there's not enough game. You know, if something was happening, the game would be wiped out. No, it wouldn't. For the simple fact, if an SHTF situation happened, a lot of people wouldn't come out of their homes because they'd be afraid, and therefore they would starve to death. A lot of people, you know, the population would decrease dramatically here in the United States. I think there's like, what, 300,000 people? I mean, 300 million people in the United States. What is a quarter of that is elderly and, you know, babies and small kids and, you know, toddlers, and, you know, they would be one of the first ones to die because they don't have the formula, they don't have the medicine they need. You know, it's a harsh thing to say, but that is reality, you know. And there's a lot of parents out there would want to eat before feeding their babies, you know. And me, on the other hand, my kids eat before I eat, but a lot of parents ain't that way. They want to eat because they think, oh, I need it to keep going, and they'll let their babies, you know, starve to death. If you don't think that's true, just look at all the child abuse cases, and I just let that stand on fact right there. But getting to the point of the, you know, people are saying, oh, they'll run out to the woods and they'll do this and they'll do that and they'll just wipe out the animal populations. Look at the Great Depression. Yes, let's take a look at the Great Depression. A 6-year-old child back in the Great Depression had more homesteading skills, more gardening skills, more fishing, hunting skills than a 30-year-old person today. Do you actually think these skinny jean, purple high top wearing guys, protesters, would go out and actually hunt? Do you even think they know how to use a gun or a bow? Then you take these hairy armpit, hairy leg, wannabe looking women protesting, you know, I'm a vegan, I won't kill an animal. They would much rather starve to death than harm an animal to survive because they're programmed that way. So, and there's quite a few people like that out there. I mean, there's quite a few. So that's going to cut the population down. Then you're going to get the killings, you know, random murders and home invasions. You know, within a month's time, our population is going to be cut over half in a SHTF situation. I'm talking like an EMP, you know, a nuclear strike, something that shuts the government down, shuts everything down. Our population would be, I say, cut in half within a month's time. Then on top of that, you got the disease. You've got, you know, you've got a lot of things to consider. You know, people's just not going to get up one day, oh, I'm going to walk 20 or 30 miles into the mountains and hunt. They might walk 20 or 30 miles, but when they get there, they're not going to return because they're going to get ate by a mountain lion, or they're going to get attacked by a bear. They're going to get attacked by wild pigs. They're going to walk somewhere and a snake's going to get them. Let it be a copperhead, a water moccasin, a rattlesnake. Down in the swamps, they're going to walk and a damn alligator's going to get them. because a lot of people that live in the city don't have enough common sense to know what to do out in the woods. Then, another fact. What is around your cities? What does almost all big cities have when it comes to animals? They have zoos. They have petting zoos. Do you not think people in those big cities will go and, think, I think I want an elephant steak, or I want a zebra burger, or I want a giraffe steak? Those animals in those zoos and these little petting zoos, they're going to get hit first. Then these farmers that has cattle, cattle ranches, sheep and goats and big chicken farmers and stuff like that, they're going to get hit as well. And that's even before anybody thinks about going out into the woods. And by that, our population is going to be dramatically cut. Then if you get out into the woods, you're taking a chance of the people who's already living there, whose life is dependent on the game, because they know how to preserve it, and they know to go out and kill one or two and not kill and kill and kill until everything's wiped out. Those people are not going to let the other people come in and just wipe their game out. They're going to retaliate against them. Now I'm going to have guys, well, if there's 100 city folks coming in there, well, they might be 100 city folks coming in there, and they might only be 10 coming out, because you're going to, these people who's going to be dependent on that is going to have booby traps, is going to have tripwires, they're going to have deadfalls, they're going to have spike pits in order to keep people out of the area. But everybody is fixated on, we're going to run out of animals if something happens within a month or two. No, we're not. The animal population will be depleted somewhat. Yes, I do agree on that. But it won't be wiped out. You will be able to survive. The fish ain't going to go away. And now I'm going to hear guys, well, there's dead spots in the sea. Okay, they might be a dead spot in a couple parts of the sea, maybe 100 miles long. How wide and how deep is the ocean? So those little dead spots really don't matter in the long run. It's this debate I can go on and go on and go on with. We're not going to run out of wild game resources, because the human population is going to be dramatically decreased due to humans. Humans are going to be the one decreasing the human population way before they start decreasing the animal population. Like I said, there are going to be deaths, there are going to be murders, there are going to be starvation, there are going to be people, like I said, these protesters. I'm a vegan, I'm not going to eat meat. And they will starve to death before they kill an animal in order to live. Because they're programmed. And there's so many people out there like that. And, everybody, and all I hear is, well, look at the Great Depression. Again, like I said, a 6-year-old back then had more homesteading and gardening and surviving and hunting and fishing than most 30-year-olds do today. You can't compare this generation, the people living today, to the people living back then. Because the people living back then, a lot of them had common sense and survival skills. Most people nowadays, there's just a handful of us out here. The ones who, preps and learn survival stuff. We are going to be the ones surviving. We're going to be the ones out there making it. These other people who don't have a clue on prepping, don't have a clue on hunting or fishing or trapping or gardening, they're going to wind up dead because they're going to come and they're going to raid our places and they're going to get killed. Or they think they're going to go out into the deep mountains and they're going to get ate up by wolves or mountain lions or, you know, a moose. Mooses are deadly and they're going to wind up getting killed. Yes, I will say our animal population will deplete. You know, squirrels and rabbits, little stuff like that. And deer population may go down some. But if you just got to look in the areas you are. There's more animals out there than rabbits and squirrels and deer. That's what people focus on. And there's tons of other animals, birds, reptiles that can be ate. Look at Florida. That place is ate up with gators down there. And those big, what are they, boas or pythons that's gotten loose. And they have, now Florida has put a hunting season on them because they're so big down there. You kill a 16-foot long boa or a python or an anaconda, whatever it is, you chop it up, you got some good steak. Let me see this. Snake steaks. Damn, say that 10 times fast. That's plenty of food right there to feed a lot of people. But guys, you're going to have to stop thinking the deer, rabbits, squirrels, they are tons of other animals. And we will wipe out the human race before we wipe out the animals. That's just human nature. I mean, the animals will make it in a doomsday scenario a lot longer than the human race will. But yeah, I'm gonna get some comments. Oh, you're wrong, you're wrong. That's your guys' opinion. I look at the facts and I do not compare the people alive today to the ones alive back in the Depression. Yes, they were deaths in the Depression. Yes, they were starvation in the Depression. Yes, because in some areas the game did get wiped out. Yes, it did. But a lot of people survived by moving. They turned into nomads and they followed the games like the Indians did. They followed the game and they made it. That's what would have to happen. You know, you would have to watch how much you killed in the areas, then move on to another area so you do not, you know, wipe them out. And I'm going to have people, well, people ain't going to think that. The smart people will be. I'm not worried about these other people because they're going to be wiped slap out. You know, the ones that's retarded and stupid and ignorant and with no common sense, they're going to be the ones wiped out. The people who prep and, you know, do survival and that are prepared, we know better. We know better. And we are the ones who's going to come out on top. These other losers, they're the ones going to be feeding the animals, you know, the coyotes and the dog packs and the rats and whatever, you know. When they drop dead, you know, the animals are going to feast on them. But guys, just take a look around your area. There are so many animals besides deer and rabbits and squirrels. Again, if something happens, almost all major cities has zoos, big zoos. Do you think there are people going to go in there and shoot elephants, rhinos, you know, apes, whatever's in there, they're going to shoot and they're going to eat. Then you got these cattle ranches, you got these sheep ranches, you got these goat ranches. Hell, there are even big llama ranches around here. You think people's not going to kill a llama? Or these horse ranches, when they get hungry, people's going to shoot the horses too. People don't think about that. They just think, oh, going to go out into the woods. They might go out into the woods, but they might go. That's no sign they're going to return. Because when you, like in my area here, if something was to happen, you know, I've got about 4 or 5, maybe 600 acres in right behind me, all back through here and everything like that. Do you think I'm going to let somebody come in here and camp in the middle of that and start wiping out the game? No. I'm going to set booby traps. I'm going to set trip wires. I'm going to set deadfalls. When they hit it, it's going to kill them. Or it's going to bust them up, then they're going to lay there and die. You know, and that's a lot of mindset people is going to have. You come and you try to get from me, we're going to take you out. And honestly, that's the mindset you're going to have to get. Even to your garden, when you plant your garden, you're going to have the mindset to kill over that garden, because if you allow somebody to come in and steal from you, you're basically letting them steal from your babies, or letting them steal. You're going to starve while they eat. And I'd much rather them starve and me and my babies eat. But guys, just tell me what you think. I'm going to get off here and rest for a while. But until the next one, everybody be safe. Bye for now.
Hi everybody, thank you for joining me. What is being described as the most dangerous situation that's currently going on in our lifetime is with North Korea. North Korea fires ballistic missile into its eastern waters day before U.S.-China summit. When the U.S. and the international community asked China to do something about North Korea threatened to nuke China. They did that about 8 months ago. ROK's latest missile launch took place from near this submarine base, and I have an image of it down here. North Korea fired a ballistic missile on Wednesday from its east shore into the sea off the peninsula, South Korea military said, ahead of a summit between U.S. and Chinese leaders, who are set to discuss Pyongyang's arms program. The launch was from Sinpo, a port city in the northeast coast, and the missile flew about 40 miles. South Korea Office of the Joint Chiefs of Staff said in a short statement, Sinpo is the site of the North Korean submarine base. It is believed North Korea now has 8 nuclear bombs. It is also believed that his next nuclear test will be 42 times larger than his last test. Kim Jong-un's nuclear weapons are buried deep inside secret locations in the mountains, and has called the U.S. his enemy. In South Korea, a U.S. friend, a bunch of war-mongering puppets, and traitor to the nation, and hell-bent on war. The launch comes just a day before the start of a summit meeting between U.S. President Donald Trump and the Chinese president, where talks about adding pressure on the North to drop its arms development will take center stage. Any launch of objects using the ballistic missile technology is a violation of UN Security Council resolution, but the North has defined the ban as infringement of its sovereign right to self-defense and the pursuit of space exploration. North Korea attempted to launch a ballistic missile 2 weeks ago from its east coast, and earlier in March fired 4 missiles towards Japan, some of which came as close as 190 miles to its coast. The reclusive state has also conducted 2 nuclear weapons tests since January of 2016. The U.S. Military Pacific Command said initial assessments indicated the launch was a K-2-15 medium-range ballistic missile, which would be the same kind North Korea test launched in February. The North is believed to be developing an intercontinental ballistic missile, ICBM, that can hit the United States, and its leader, Kim Jong-un, has vowed to test launch one at a time. Kim Jong-un's military has already demonstrated it can launch satellites. So if they can get a satellite up into space, all they need to do is get the same rocket, the same missile over the United States, and they probably don't care where it falls. 2 satellites are currently in orbit that are orbiting over the U.S., even though U.S. experts admit they don't know what the satellites are doing. Security experts fear North Korea is plotting to launch a nuke-carrying satellite into space and then explode it over the U.S. The resulting blast would cause a powerful electromagnetic pulse, EMP, that would immediately knock out the nation's critical electrical grid system. If that happened, 90% of the U.S. population would die within a year. Japan's chief cabinet secretary, Yoshihide Suga, said the North missile launch was extremely problematic. And Tokyo has lodged a strong protest against its nuclear-armed neighbor. President Donald Trump will press Chinese President Xi Jinping to take a far tougher stance against North Korea over the rogue state's nuclear program when the two meet later this week in Florida. I believe they're supposed to meet tomorrow, maybe? Warning that the U.S. reserves the right to act unilaterally. They threatened to go it alone. Previewing the visit, senior White House officials warned that the North Korea threat is now urgent, as that country works to simultaneously miniaturize its nuclear weapons and improve its ballistic missile technology. North Korea has been the subject of an interagency review since Trump took office. U.S. intelligence officials believe it will have the ability to reach the U.S. with a nuclear missile within a year at its current pace. And former President Barack Obama warned his successor of the escalating danger before he left office. The clock has now run out and all options are on the table for us, a senior White House official said, providing a glimpse at Trump's message to Xi. About a year ago, I reported that Ukraine had sold missile ICBM technology, the blueprints, how to do it, to an unknown buyer, and it was speculated back then that the North Koreans bought those blueprints. All the technical data. Well, put your thoughts and comments down below. Bookmark my site. I'll keep you up to date. Please stay safe, and I'll talk to you later. God bless you. Bye.
There's a tremor happening.
Is it earthquake? Yeah.
I mean, you know, there's an earthquake in the not necessarily in the markets, because the rand seems to be rallying, if memory serves, based on the last update we got. But it does coincide with what is happening politically in South Africa. We're certainly starting to feel the seismic effects. And just to let our viewers know, the reason you see things shaking in our studio is because it appears as if there is a tremor underway.
And it's going on for quite a while.
And it's been going on for a while. We shall carry on until something falls from the ceiling.
Social media, they were felt in Gauteng and reports as far as KwaZulu-Natal, the Northwest and Botswana. In Johannesburg, there are reports that the tremor has affected buildings in Bree Street. Residents are reported to have been evacuated. The City of Johannesburg Emergency Services spokesperson Robert Mulawudzi has confirmed the evacuations via social media. He also tweeted that no injuries have been reported thus far. The Council for Geosciences, Eldridge Khwasane, told SABC Radio that aftershocks from this morning's tremor at Klerksdorp mine in the northwest could occur for at least days. This morning's tremor measured 4.6 on the Richter scale. It also rattled parts of Johannesburg and the Free State, causing panic among people, with thousands expressing their shock on social media. Unconfirmed reports say tonight's tremor was a little stronger.
Millions of people in the Deep South are in the path of dangerous weather. This was the frightening scene today as a tornado was spotted near Woodworth, Louisiana. Tornadoes, flash floods, devastating winds and hail are in the forecast tonight across Texas, Arkansas, Louisiana and Mississippi. The southern storms cap a weekend of severe weather in the U.S. At least 2 people are dead. Here's Tony DeCopel.
A suspected tornado toppled this mobile home near Lafayette, Louisiana on Sunday, killing a mother and her 3-year-old daughter inside, police said. Heavy rain, slashing winds, and hail as large as ping pong balls hammered homes and vehicles from Texas to Mississippi. Moist air, more typical of August than April, could bring flash floods with as much as 2 inches of rain falling an hour. Strong tornadoes remained a risk into Sunday night. In Dallas, about 40,000 basketball fans had to make new plans after the threat of violent storms forced NCAA officials to cancel outdoor events ahead of Sunday night's championship game. Worshippers at the Real Life Church in Chesapeake, Virginia, meanwhile, had to find a new place to pray after a tornado tore through on Friday. Further north, April Fool's Day snowstorms were no joke from Massachusetts to Maine, where more than a foot fell.
This is a statewide weather event. And this information that we're putting out right now in this briefing pertains to everybody in the state of Louisiana.
The size and power of the mudslides evident in the devastation they left behind. It's being described as a water avalanche. Towers of water and mud formed as rivers burst their banks after days of heavy rainfall. The mudslides crashed into 17 neighbourhoods in the southern city of Mocoa at around midnight on Friday. Those in its path had little warning.
We've lost a baby. He's gone missing. A little baby. We can't find him anywhere.
I haven't heard from my relative. All I know is that her husband grabbed her by the hand, but he couldn't hold on, and the current swept her away.
The lists tell a story of unimaginable loss. 8 years, 10 years, 14. These are the names of the missing children. A father touches a name in his grief, the closest he can get when he has little idea of where his child may now be. My niece, she says. Like so many others here, she is desperate to search for the missing youngsters. But given the force of the mudslides, most simply don't know where to start. Mocoa is now the centre of a major search and rescue operation, with at least 1,100 soldiers and police picking through the debris. It's the provincial capital of Putumayo and home to 40,000 people. The water avalanche knocked out power in half the province. President Juan Manuel Santos visited Mocoa and has declared a state of public calamity. Tons of aid and rescue equipment has been sent from the capital Bogota to the disaster zone, and people are picking through the tons of debris, trying to salvage whatever is still usable.
Nadie me da razón, nadie. Nadie me da razón de mi casa.
Nobody has any news, nobody. No news on my house or my family. I'm at the mercy of my God. I have nothing. Nothing to eat, nowhere to sleep. These clothes were given to me.
The scale of the devastation and loss is for many here incomprehensible. They know the chances of survival are slim, but still cling to the hope that their loved ones may still be found alive.
بياكلوهم لا ايوه والبلد كلها تعبانه يا ريت هم ياكلونا مش عاوزين عرق ولا عاوزين اجره ولا عاوزين نشتغل ياكلونا بس هناكل عيش حاف بكام
6 جنيه
The remains of a new Egyptian pyramid have been unearthed. Experts believe it dates back to the 13th dynasty, some 3,700 years ago. According to a top antiquities official, an Egyptian excavation team made the discovery. The ancient remains are located north of King Sneferu's bent pyramid in the Dashur Royal Necropolis south of Cairo. But what is now ruins could have been a failed pyramid. Due to the bent slope of its sides, the pyramid is believed to have been ancient Egypt's first attempt to build a smooth-sided pyramid. The remains belong to the inner structure of the pyramid, including the corridor. Blocks and other remains were found, depicting the interior design of the pyramid.
Russia could invade in 24 hours. The stark warning from Baltic state Lithuania. The country's intelligence agencies claim the Kremlin has upgraded its regional military capabilities. Their assessment, Moscow can now launch an attack on any Baltic state in just a day. The speed could limit NATO's ability to respond. Lithuania points to a Russian military build-up in Kaliningrad as being behind the increased threat. The Russian upgrade allegedly including Su-30 fighter aircraft and missile systems allowing ships to be targeted almost anywhere in the Baltic Sea. The Kremlin has dismissed the concerns as anti-Russian sentiment. Recently it's protested against increased NATO troop deployments to the region. But NATO's Baltic members have become increasingly nervous since the Russian takeover of Crimea in 2014. Just last month, Moscow showcased some of its hardware in exercises on the annexed territory. The sum of all fears for Russia's neighbours, they could be overrun by tomorrow.
According to NBC News, a senior North Korean defector has said that the country's desperate dictator is prepared to use nuclear weapons to strike the United States and its allies. Tae Yong-ho is the most high-profile North Korean defector in 2 decades, meaning he is able to give a rare insight into the secretive authoritarian regime. According to Tae, North Korean dictator Kim Jong-un is desperate in maintaining his rule by relying on his development of nuclear weapons and the ICBM. ICBM is an acronym for Intercontinental Ballistic Missiles, a long-range rocket that in theory would be capable of hitting the U.S.
Mass transportation systems are an obvious choice for bombers. A metro train in Russia's second city of St. Petersburg was the target, and the explosive device apparently went off as the train was moving between stations. Mobile phone footage showed the train stopped at the next station with a huge hole ripped in the side of one of the carriages as people attempted to get the wounded out. Passengers then tried to give first aid to the injured on the platform as reports emerged that the device had been filled with shrapnel. Others who were on the train had to make their way through acrid smoke to the safety of the surface. Above ground, a helicopter ambulance landed in the middle of the road. By this time, the whole metro system had been shut down. Reports emerged that a second bomb had been defused at another station. The Russian President Vladimir Putin was told of the attack while he was himself just outside St. Petersburg, meeting President Lukashenko of Belarus.
I would like to express sincerest condolences to relatives of the killed and wounded. I have already spoken with the chiefs of the special services, the FSB director and law enforcement bodies. We will do everything to identify the reasons for what happened, give a full evaluation of what happened, and city and federal authorities will do everything possible to support the families of our killed and injured citizens.
But security analysts had pointed out several days ago that ISIL had been threatening Russia and had claimed responsibility for an attack in Chechnya. That would create a working assumption that this was in revenge for Russia's position on Iraq and Syria, its support for President Assad and its air campaign. For years, Russia's cities had faced bomb attacks from Chechens and other groups in the Caucasus, but gradually they were lessening. The question is whether this is the start of a new campaign against Russia.
The climate has truly changed. Political climate, that is, America. Oh, God, shoot me. President Trump signed an executive order nullifying President Obama's climate change efforts. Surprise! Environmental activists hate it. Like Michael Moore, a noted source of flatulence. He tweeted this in between pies. It's so cheap. So cheap. Not worthy of applause. Not worthy of applause. Anyway, he tweeted, historians in the near future will mark today, March 28th, 2017, as the day the extinction of human life on Earth began, thanks to Donald Trump.
U.S. President Donald Trump says Washington is more than willing to tackle Pyongyang alone if Beijing doesn't take action, setting the tone for his first upcoming summit with his Chinese counterpart. Connie Kim breaks down the comments by the man with a tendency to fire before aiming.
If China is not going to solve North Korea, the United States will. That was a short but strong message from U.S. President Donald Trump with regard to North Korea's nuclear weapons program, according to an exclusive interview with the Financial Times published Sunday. The president said China has great influence over the North and will either decide to help Washington with Pyongyang or not, adding it won't be good for anyone if China doesn't. When asked whether unilateral action would be successful, the U.S. president responded with a single word, totally. He declined to provide further details, telling the paper he didn't have to say any more. Trump's comments come 4 days before he hosts Chinese President Xi Jinping at his private Mar-a-Lago resort in Florida, and the U.S. leader is expected to push Xi on the North Korea issue. The U.S. ambassador to the United Nations, Nikki Haley, told ABC in an interview broadcast on Sunday that China must take definitive actions as the only country that can halt North Korea's nuclear ambitions, and that UN resolutions have so far failed to stop the North from conducting nuclear and missile tests. But because the North Korea issue involves many parties besides China, experts aren't predicting a significant breakthrough anytime soon.
I believe that President Trump understands that the North Korean problem is linked in many ways to China and relations between the United States and China. The North Korean issue needs to be handled more multilaterally in consideration of South Korea's interests, Japan's interests, and Russia's interests as well.
Nevertheless, Trump is likely to press Xi on North Korea when they meet to at least enforce existing sanctions and stop trying to exploit sanctions loopholes to help its neighbor. Connie Kim, Arirang News.
So the biggest benefit, I think, is convenience. It basically simplifies your life, and that's why I think people find it interesting, because you don't have to have keys, you don't have to use tags or anything else for using printers. You can do airline fares with it. You can also go to your local gym, etc. So it basically replaces a lot of things you have other communication devices for, whether it be credit cards or keys. And of course, putting things into your body is quite a big step to do. And it was even for me at first, thinking like, why would I do this? But then on the other hand, I mean, people have been implanting things in their body like pacemakers and stuff to control your heart. That's a way, way more serious thing than having a small chip that actually can communicate with devices.
The data that you could possibly get from a chip that is embedded in your body is a lot different from the data that you can get from a smartphone. So, conceptually, you could get data about your health, you could get data about your whereabouts, how often you're working, how long you're working, if you're taking toilet breaks and things like that. All of that data could conceivably be collected. So then the question is, what happens to it afterwards? What is it used for?
I'm certain that this will be the natural way to add another dimension to our everyday life. I mean, for me to be able to seamlessly interact with everything digital around me means me leaving a keychain, which, however, is a 5,000-year-old invention. It's kind of lame. And carrying money around, a wallet, and plastic cards, it's obvious. I mean, it's the next step. The next natural step for electronics is to move into the body.
I want to be a part of the future. That's why. Yeah. I saw this at a fair once and got really excited because it's finally gotten to using it in movies, and now it's available for common people.
That's it.
Hopefully I can leave my keys at home and just keep this. I usually lose a lot of things like my keys and everything, so this will give me access and help me a lot more.
There's a tremor happening.
Is it earthquake?
I mean, you know, there's an earthquake in the not necessarily in the markets because the rand seems to be rallying if memory serves.